Okay, students, so we are discussing about the topics quadratic equations. Quadratic equations. In fact, today's class is very important because today we would like to know basically the different shapes of parabola. Now, from the quadratic equations, any quadratic equations can also be expressed in terms of a quadratic polynomial, or you can say better the quadratic functions. So, if x square plus bx plus c is equal to 0, then its respective the quadratic functions we can also think in this way: f of x is equal to x square plus bx plus c, and you can also write this as y is equal to f of x is equal to this. And functions already you have learned in your previous topic. Now this a, b, c, these three constant parts are very important. In class 10, children, you have also drawn a straight line. From a straight line equations, you have drawn straight line in a graph paper. Similarly, any functions we also can draw in the graph paper. Now, in the graph paper, while you are drawing the graph, it has a different structure, a different shape. Now, a quadratic functions, which actually entails you a concept of parabola, it actually gives you the concept of a different shapes of parabola. Now, different shapes of parabola means, I want to mean that this parabola can be, number one thought, it can be in the first quadrant of a plane. If I divide the graph in fourth quadrant, first quadrant, second quadrant, third quadrant, and fourth quadrant. Now, this parabola, number one, can take the place in the first quadrant, or second quadrant, or third quadrant, or fourth quadrant. Number one. Number two, this parabola can be U-shaped or inversely U-shaped. So naturally, we will be interested to know under what conditions this parabola will be U-shaped, or under what condition it should be inverted U-shaped. Can this parabola intersect the x-axis? Or the third question is, can this parabola intersect the y-axis? Or if the parabola is U-shaped, what is its minimum point? Or if the parabola is U-shaped, is it a positive sign? So all these questions arises. Similarly, if a parabola is inverted U-shaped, when it will be maximum, or when it is negative sign. So all this, or whenever it has a distinct real root. So all these type of questions generally is asked in the joint entrance examinations. That's why I decided that today I like to discuss about this topic. However, after listening this introduction part, after learning this topic, if you please like this my video, I will request you to please subscribe my video in the YouTube, and also those who want to ask for other help or assistance, they can also contact me in this number, that is 869762235, and WhatsApp number is 9433328434. So regarding this, you can ask me that if you have any doubt, you just can discuss with me. Now, once we understand that this is the quadratic functions, so our next thing is that what is the shape of this type of parabola? See, I am drawing a diagram. The parabola can be like this, U-shaped, as I told, and also it can be like this, that is inverted U-shaped. Now this U-shaped, and also it can be also drawn different way also. That is not we are discussing. We are discussing particularly when y is equal to ax square plus bx plus c. In that case, what it represents as a parabola, that is basically it takes shapes like this or that. Now, if I draw a y-axis and x-axis in this way, see, the parabola is U-shaped because of this particular coefficient of x square. This is very, very important. Remember, whether it is U-shaped or inverted U-shaped, who is responsible? The coefficient which is responsible for this U-shaped or inverted U-shaped, that is called coefficient of x square, that is a. Because of this a, this parabola is either U-shaped or inverted U-shaped. If the coefficient of x square is 2 is positive, so we can easily say yes, 2x. Suppose I can give you this example, 2x square plus 3x minus 5. So this type of parabola, we say that yes sir, this is the coefficient of x square is 2 and that is 2 positive, and therefore it is U-shaped like this. So for this type of diagram, I can say that A should be positive. And for inverted U-shaped, the opposite thing will happen. That is, this A must be negative. So if A is negative, we can say, if A is negative, we can say, yes, the parabola is inverted U-shaped. So this is the first things. This A, B and C, these are very important constant in class 11, and so many questions also asked in joint entrance. Now, once you understand, next is, already have done the concept of discriminant. Children, the concept of discriminant means what? In class 10 also we have done. Also I have taught in my previous classes. Still, just for your recapitulations, I like to tell you. So number one, these are the concepts required. If D is positive, this means the roots of R, are real and distinct. If D is equal to 0, if D is equal to 0, we know that we can say that if D is equal to 0, we can say D is equal to 0, or you can say that roots are equal. Roots are equal. Okay, if the roots are negative, discriminant is negative, all of us know, the roots are imaginary. So basically, I would like to concentrate on these three concepts while I am trying to teach you the shape of this parabola and the relevant questions. Now, number one concept, I am drawing one diagram just to see what you can understand. And I just run it because I have to draw everywhere in this quadrant. And I rewrite again. This is, I'm drawing, like red pen so that you can understand this. Right. See, If I draw the parabola like these shapes, let me now rub this also. If I draw the parabola like this, if I draw this parabola like this, what do you understand? And also, if I extend it like this, so that it intersects the, let me draw it perfectly, so that it intersects. See, this is a parabola I drawn. This parabola, if you see, this is y-axis, y dash, and this is x dash. Right? This is x dash, this is y dash. And you see that the parabola particularly have intersected the y-axis at this particular point, this intersecting point, and this is suppose I am doing 0c. This c is very, very important, children, and this c in the quadratic function we say the intercept form. Intercept is from the O origin, this distance is basically c. Because if x is equal to 0, then this is 0, y is equal to c. So this point particularly is y is equal to c. I give this name p. Now, as I told you that depending on the sign of this, suppose for this parabola, as I told you that the sign of this a is supposed to be a is greater than 0. This is very important. Seeing this coefficient, you can directly say yes, the parabola is U-shaped. Now the next question is, will this parabola intersect the x-axis? Here you see, the parabola has clearly intersected the x-axis in the positive part of the x-axis, and that is, that here is x is equal to alpha and say x is equal to beta. Theoretically, I would like to tell you, and it's a distinct roots. That means this actually tells me D, that is discriminant for this type of parabola will be positive, but because already I told him in my last diagram that D is positive. So for this type of diagram, I can say that D is also positive clearly. So these two concepts is responsible for this type of diagram, and definitely this C has to be positive and non-zero. C is non-zero, C is not equal to 0, here C is also positive. So because of the reasons, this parabola takes like this. Now let us also think about another parabola, say like this. If I draw the parabola like this, here also you see a little bit difference are there. The difference is that here also the roots are not positive, but they are also distinct. So here, if I assume that x is equal to minus alpha, and here is x is equal to minus beta, and is y intersect positive. So naturally, the equations of this, we can say that A definitely positive, following the same conditions. B is also 0 positive, and the roots are negative. So the equations for this you can write as x plus alpha into x plus beta is equal to 0. For this type of diagram, we can also say that x minus alpha into x minus beta is equal to 0. You can write this as k as constant. Though I don't know the value of k a. Here also I can write this k. So this type of parabola is equal to 0 should not write. This type of parabolic function we can think about these expressions. Similarly, if I think about the another type of diagram, say if I draw like this, so I am drawing over here. So can I rub it? Better to rub, and you can draw it also another way. So I think you have already drawn it. Again, if you don't draw, again whenever you try to see this video repeatedly, and then you draw it. Now for the time being, I rub this, Now suppose what happens if A is negative? This A is negative, then the parabola will be like this. And here also you can see some distinct roots. X is equal to alpha plus alpha and x is equal to beta. And this is the maximum point. In the previous case, we can get the minimum point that I will discuss in my next video. And here definitely this A has to be negative. It has to be negative. But since the parabola intersected clearly the x-axis in two distinct points, therefore the D discriminant has to be greater than 0. And same thing also I can think over here. I can think over here also. But over here, only thing is the roots are negative. Otherwise the concepts are same. Here you can say that x is equal to minus alpha, x is equal to minus alpha, beta, and this is the maximum point. But here A also negative, D also positive, but thing is that the roots are definitely negative. So this type of concept we can understand when A is positive and A is positive or negative and D is also positive. Now once we understand this shape of the parabola, so one thing you have clearly understood that the shape of the parabola, whether it is U-shaped or inverted U-shaped, that is basically who is responsible? That A is responsible. That is coefficient of x squared is responsible for that. Now I can think another type of parabola that is like this. Suppose if I draw the parabola like this. Here you see, surprisingly, the parabola could not intersect the x-axis. The parabola definitely has intersect the y-axis at point say 0c again, following the previous concept. But this parabola, this parabola would not intersect the x-axis anywhere. That means, what does it mean? This means that basically here also A positive, that's why it is U-shaped. But thing is that the D is negative. That means the roots are imaginary. Since the roots are imaginary, therefore we get this concept. But it has a clear y-intercept C, so C has to be there and this C is positive. So for this type of diagram, we can say the discriminant is negative and it has no real roots. I hope you understood. And same thing also, here also I can draw same things. Now what happens? Again, that if I want to know what happens if A is negative and again it has the imaginary roots, we can draw a thing called a diagram like this. So like this, you extend it and suppose again it has a existing C. See the existing C's are here, existing C intersected, but it has a one thing that is I want to mean that it is 0 minus C, I should say, but here this A is negative. Because A negative, this parabola is inverted U-shaped, but it has not intersected x-axis and therefore I should say that D is also negative. So both these same signs, that's why we get this type of parabola. Is it clear? So next concept is that what happens if the parabola touches the x-axis? If the parabola touches the x-axis, what will happen? If the parabola touches the x-axis, suppose I can draw this parabola in this way. See, it has touched the x-axis. So that means the parabola again you see here is a clear y-intercept. So 0C and C is positive. This C is always define you the y-intercept. And that is when x is equal to 0, you are getting this intersecting point. And this parabola touched the x-axis. That means the x-axis has become the tangent at the minimum point of this parabola. So here actually we can get the equal roots. that is the parabolic function is a perfect square. So here actually your x is equal to alpha and x is equal to beta. Alpha is equal to beta. Both the roots are equal, and hence we can get these type of things. But here also a is positive. A is also positive because it is U-shaped. Similarly, if I think about this type of diagram, here also you can see the parabola again has touched the maximum point. The maximum part of the parabola have also touched the x-axis. So x-axis become the tangent. But here also you can get that equal roots. Alpha is equal to beta. But here a is negative. That's why it is inverted U-shaped. But here discriminant is also, that discriminant is also a perfect square. Since the discriminant is perfect square, that's why we can get this type of diagrams. And alpha is equal to beta. It does. So here discriminant for both the cases, discriminant becomes the perfect square. That is the concept. The discriminant becomes the perfect square. I should say, should I say perfect square? Yes, you can say the, or you can say d is equal to 0. Not perfect square, sorry. D is equal to, I should say 0. D is equal to 0, sorry. Here also you can say d is equal to 0. So for both these cases, you can get this type of things. You also can think like this. And also, what happens if the parabola, also main concept already over. If the parabola like this, what happens? Suppose that means it will not touch the y-axis. That means it has no c part. And following the same things, this a is positive. So it doesn't touch the y-axis or intersect the y-axis. That means we can think about that. For this type of parabola, the c is equal to 0. Here also a positive for in these things, and it does not touch the x-axis, so d definitely positive, and here c is equal to 0. So different types of situation arises, and we can draw different types of parabola like this, whether it is U-shape or whether it is inverted U-shape. Similarly, also we can draw a parabola like this, and here also it will not touch the y-axis, and it will not touch the also here also a negative you can say, but b also negative, and c also is equal to 0 because c, there is no c over here. So this type of concept today basically we have discussed that different shapes of parabola, and this concept children are very important. That's why I have made this video, and if you like this video, please subscribe my YouTube channel so that people like this also. And also you can ask your query giving the WhatsApp number 9433328434. Thank you very much. In our next class, I'll also discuss some other concepts on quadratic equations. Thank you.